What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are so excited. I hope you are pumped right now for the most action-packed hour you have ever received in your entire life. Why? Because this hour got it all, baby. Hope, inspiration, motivation, encouragement, empowerment, the whole nine, baby. So grab a chair, pull up a couple shots, let your hair down, and kick those shoes off, and get ready to receive the most jam-packed hour you have ever received in your entire life, baby. Let's go! Woo!
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. I'm kinda, but I'm Ross, you know. Jaffe is nothing more than a zombie extra, you know. Joseph Jaffe is not famous.
This is my best kind of shoners. We didn't touch one of them, not even one of them. I'm not sure which one is Paul Rudd and which one is Lane Green.
Final card here is the ultimate outcome.
Today is take your dog to work day.
Like Scooby-Doo.
Without further ado, his debut.
Sweet Caroline.
Everybody say hello to Sammy. Is it not good?
I'm just pausing so that you just are at the front of your screen.
I'm so enormously flattered.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
I'm gonna have to take a picture of this.
No, this is agape. This is love.
I really enjoyed this. You did do your homework. You asked great questions.
I'm flattered. Thank you. You just made my day.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How did I do that?
insane! You're insane.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Joseph Jaffe is not famous. Of course I'm not famous because you guys are famous. And look, if you haven't been on the show, you can get on the show. Anybody can get on the show. Maybe not as a guest, maybe not as a creator performer, but you can comment. You can take advantage. This show is all about gratitude. The gratitude that I have to you for being there for me when I went through open heart surgery and various hospitalizations. I appreciate you. I really, really do. And I'm going to continue to use this week and maybe even next week to say thank you to you because I really, really, really appreciate you guys. One of the ways that I can actually say thank you to you is through a simple little QR code and the ability to give you a Jaffe coin for just tuning in and being a part of this. Now, I want to do a little bit of a test. Let me see if the QR code is working. So I'm going to take my own phone and put it against the QR code and click on it. And yeah, it's working. There you go. It says 9-1 show with Carrie Kerpen. And all you got to basically do is follow those instructions and you will have a $6.50 Jaffe coin sitting in your bank account. It's about as easy as that. And I'm going to continue doing it pretty much every show. The value may drop, but ultimately I hope that the value that I deliver to you increases exponentially all the time. How about that? One of the things that your Jaffe coin will buy you admission into are the reunion shows, and there are going to be other shows as well. They're going to be available for Jaffe coin holders. And at the moment, all you need to join is just one Jaffe coin, which of course, if you're watching right now, you can get for free. Now, one of the things I should mention to you is that the code is only active from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. when the show is going on. So this really does feed what I call the streaming economy live. You know, so many talk shows out there are not live. I want the show to be live. Right now it is 9:04 p.m. It is Wednesday, September 1st. And by the way, if you're watching this after the fact, if you're watching this September 2nd, September 10th, 2022, you can still get value from it. But frankly, all you got to do is watch the next show live to just take advantage of this tiny little opportunity. So there will be reunion shows every Friday, and as I mentioned, there'll be other things that you can take advantage of. I want to take this moment actually to single out a previous guest of the show, Joe Delagrave. Joe was on the show, and I was so proud of him because he won a bronze medal in the, as a U.S. Paralympian. Well, I'm proud to say, pleased to say that he has just left the Olympic Games, the Paralympics, with a silver medal. So congratulations, Joe Delagrave. I'm so proud of you. You're an amazing, amazing guy. And these are photos from his Facebook page, live tonight, and pretty much hot off the press. What a guy. And another guy is Harold Kravitz. Good morning to you. It is now September 2nd, Thursday, in Melbourne, Australia. And I hope you aren't locked up or locked in or locked down too much. And hopefully we will all get to see each other sooner rather than later, my friend. Well, this week, as I returned to the show, you saw Dave Kerpen, Maria Bailey. What a show last night was. There were some technical issues, but we overcame them. And Maria and I had such an amazing conversation. Then Corvus was just beyond incredible. And what an amazing conversation we had afterwards. By the way, Harold says, how about talking about Spurs top of the table? Look, I just don't want to gloat. But there will be time to talk about Spurs on top of the table because I don't expect us to relinquish that position for the rest of the season. But tonight is Carrie Kerpen, followed by Mr. Jeff Pulver tomorrow night. And you're just going to enjoy, no doubt, this experience because, it's just so terrific to be able to get old friends and new friends in and to be able to experience wonderful, wonderful conversations together. And so more on that tonight and tomorrow. Today, though, is National Pink Cadillac Day. National Pink Cadillac Day. And of course, I'm thinking of you, Ryan. Ryan, who was on the show, his whole keynote presentation was about what is your pink Cadillac. Ryan, he, if I recall correctly, at the age of 19, he flew around the world. And then at the age of 20, he had a plane accident and he was confined to a wheelchair. But he's since learned again how to walk and he's become an amazing keynote speaker. Well, let's get into tonight's seated soliloquy. And tonight's seated soliloquy is called You Like Me. You really, really like me. And by the way, as I do this, to prove that this is live, there's a little bit of a storm going on. So if we lose power, it is just part of this continuous experience. If you just heard that right now, that was not my stomach grumbling. That was thunder. But who cares? We keep going and we keep growing as well. Never a dull moment. So my guest tonight, Carrie Kerpen, together with her husband, Dave Kerpen, Monday's guest, started a business called Likeable Media. You'll hear the story of how they brilliantly tied it into the early days of Facebook, recognizing the trajectory, growth, and potential of the like button and hitching their future success to this runway freight train. And it worked. It got me to thinking about one of my older presentations, which was aligned with my second book, Join the Conversation. I remember at the time taking aim at brands who were fawning over the like button with their usual obsession with metrics. Like me, you really like me, right, Sally Field? At the time, brands had taken their golden goose, the website, and instead of enjoying a lifetime of residuals from the production and sale of golden eggs, they slaughtered it and cooked it on the barbecue. Think about it. For the first time in the history of business, brands could take all of their content and put it online in their online storefront that was open 24/7, 365, their website. But instead, they gated their content and hid it behind a walled garden called a Facebook page. And in order to get in, you had to like them. They even resorted to sweepstakes and gimmicks to coerce or incentivize the like. As I would say in my keynote presentation, I don't want to like Pepto-Bismol. I don't want to ever like Pepto-Bismol. I don't need to give a thumbs up to a can of soda or a sneaker. And yet, Coca-Cola, Nike, and Pepto continue to pursue a friendship with me. Our goal in life, in business, and in marketing is to pursue love, not like. Even a little lust triumphs over like. I remember seeing a sign in a store window in New York City that read, and I'll never forget it, "If you love us, like us." And of course, the like in question was the Facebook icon. Carrie and Dave recognized that relationships trump transactions. And whereas the former is between human and human, the latter is between a human and a thing. So never downgrade love to like. Never, ever. The like is just a foot in the door, a means to an end. And if we are to begin with the end in mind, then that end, my friends, is love. Well, Andy Foote is here and he says, are you familiar with Jaffa cakes, Joseph? They're my favorite dunkable bicky, which would mean biscuit, which would mean that Andy Foote is either in Australia, probably in Australia right now. Yes, I am familiar with Jaffa cakes and I'm familiar with Jaffa oranges as well. I decided to mix things up a little bit tonight. And so before I bring my guest on, I thought maybe we would listen to It's Wellness Wednesdays, and I thought we'd listen to Nidhi Tewari with her segment, Produced Beautifully, and here it is.
This is the brutal truth about grief. You might be wondering when your grief is going to go away, but the reality is grief doesn't go away, it just transforms. You might have heard about the different stages of grief, but the fact is anger and sadness and all of those emotions, those are normal and those are going to last for quite a while. Instead of trying to make grief go away, learn to ride the waves of grief, hold space for yourself, and give time for the emotions. Follow me at Nidhi Tewari LCSW.
Well, now it's time for our very, very famous guest, Carrie Kerpen. And, I always love these kinds of intros because instead of sending the long, drawn out, boring bio, I have a dynamic video. And so I'm just going to play that video for you. And when the video is done, auto-magically, you will see Carrie. So take it away. Welcome to the show.
Hi, so great to be here. Really, really thrilled to be on your show. And you feel very famous to me, you know. So I see not famous, but
I'm in fact very not famous apparently. So there are so many things to talk about, you know, just like little, you know, subjects like being a parent, like being a mom, like woman in the workforce, you know, like small things like that, but so important as well. And I love the opportunity, and it really is an honor and a privilege to talk about it as well. You know, I've really leaned in to this, and you know, I had a very personal story going through this little journey or pivot of mine. I think after maybe even 4 or 5 months of doing the show, I went and just did this very simple little thing, which is I created a column on my guests, next to my guests, and I just wrote 2 words, male or female. And I went down and then I did an equal sign count if, you know, the cell equals male and count equals female. And the female to male split was about 17 or 18%. And it was just like, it was just unacceptable. You know, Diane Hessen was on the show and she said, for an enlightened man like yourself, you can do better. And I said, yes, I can. And yes, I will. And I did, you know, and I had to double down. You know, my process was what I call ordered chaos, which is when I see someone compelling, I just say, hey, come on my show. I don't sit down and think about it deliberately. And then I was like, you know what? You shouldn't have to, but if you do have to, then you do need to. And if you do need to, then you do have to, and get it done. And I did it. And so, you know, to continue that conversation to me is just something that, you know, I just welcome and embrace. So thank you for being a part of that.
I'm so happy to be a part of it. And what I would say to that is that you're not alone. You know, a lot of these things are based on access to network. It's who you know. And so for such a long time, if women didn't have a seat at the table, it becomes very difficult to include them. And it's only when we get more women to the table and we get more women there that then we have access to one another and can help really spread the word and share the equity, because that's essential.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. But first, we want to find out more about you, Carrie Kerpen. And I think you, by the way, I have to tell you, you know, you know, if Dave will allow me to say this, I love you. And I'll tell you why I love you, because you've never made it so easy for me to do this segment and also to use such terribly, terribly bad Photoshop techniques.
Oh, good.
So the first thing that we found out about you is that you once auditioned to be in a Richard Simmons workout video, Sweating to the Oldies for Teens.
The teen edition. Okay, so
I don't even know where to start.
Okay, so first of all, you know, I don't know the age of the people who are watching this. So Richard Simmons is this incredible icon, and actually is a man of mystery. There's been an entire podcast about where he is now, but he used to do these workouts that I found to be very accessible. My parents were very into like trying everything. They did like all the Jane Fonda workouts and all of this stuff. And Richard Simmons was like this wacky guy who featured real people in real, you know, lots of different shapes and sizes working out to the oldies. And when he had a casting call for a teen version of this, I auditioned. I did not make it. Clearly, I was not coordinated enough to sweat to the oldies with Richard, but I do love and adore him. And it is one of my favorite fun facts about myself. I put myself out there. I was a pretty shy kid, so it was amazing that I even did it. But like, look, oh, there I am. I see the Photoshop.
No, I was going to say, I think you did make it.
I guess I did. That's like me living my best life right there. But you see how authentic they are. And I think I just always, even as a kid, responded to authenticity and realness.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I love Richard. I hope
where is Richard Simmons? Look, I've been listening a lot on on Howard Stern, and has he been found, by the way, or is he still kind of?
He's in the home. I think he's still like in his home, like kind of like a recluse. I'm unsure. There was that mystery, and of course Howard dug into it, and you know, it's fascinating. He's fascinating to listen to as well. Could talk about him all day too.
We could. Hey, Richard, if you are listening to the show, call me. I would love for you to be a guest on Joseph Jaffe is Not Famous, because you, Richard Simmons, are famous.
He is, and I love him so. I love you, Richard. Hang in there. Be well.
Hang in there as well. So something else that we found out about you is that, and this is kind of crazy, when you met Mark Zuckerberg, all you could say was, hey, your dad is my dentist. And he wasn't. He's actually Dave's dentist. I mean, I think that's you get a half a point because it's still a Kerpen proof point. But you met him, and this is a great story as well. Like I could like your dad's my dad. Does his dad still even work?
Yeah, I think he's retired, but he does some stuff in the dental industry. So okay. So first, let me say that Dave and I started out in social media, very, very, very early, at the advent. Once Facebook opened up beyond the college market, we already had a social media agency. And for those of you who don't know, Dave is my husband, and we started this company, Likeable, together. And so I got to go to F8. And, we were significantly older than Mark, because Mark started this company when he was a kid. And we were not kids. We were younger, but we weren't kids. And so I got to go to F8, which was their developer conference, even though I had no business being there because I certainly was not a developer. But I went and I saw Mark from across the room. Now, separately, what I'll tell you is that Dave is an amazing networker. And so very early in the days of Likeable, he was determined that we were going to become like a preferred developer, even though we didn't develop, very early in Facebook's tenure. When they launched the preferred developer program and the marketing partner program, Dave was like, we have to be one of the first. That's going to establish us as experts. And he was going to connect in any way possible. So he literally found different ways to connect with people from the Zuckerberg family. First, he connected with Randy, who was an amazing, at the time she was at Facebook, and they just are so similar and vibrant, and they connected. And then he was like, you know what? I think Mark's dad is still a practicing dentist out in Dobbs Ferry. And so he went all the way to Westchester. We live on Long Island, so it's about an hour drive. And Ed Zuckerberg did his teeth. So then I went to F8 and I see Mark. And and he's a kid. Okay, this is like the first F8. So he's like a kid. And I see him, he's like, yo, bro, talking to his friends. And really literally felt like you were in college. Like this was like a college kid. But I was like dumbstruck. And I'm never dumbstruck. I've met a lot of celebrities. I auditioned for Sweatin' to the Oldies. And when I saw Mark Zuckerberg, I was like, because it was like a genius, I was like, oh my God, and I didn't know what to say. And then he turned to me, said, hello. And I just went, hey, your dad is my dentist. And that was God. And he was like, cool.
Yeah. And it was like, security.
I was scared. I think it was, it's interesting because I've had extensive conversations with Sheryl Sandberg, who I love and adore and respect. And, I know Randy really well and all these people. But when I saw him, I very rarely get like that. But I think it was at that time, you knew when you saw Facebook what it was going to become. And it was on the road there, but it wasn't that yet. And to know that and to have this type of access to him was really so weird for me. That's why I did that.
So there's an interesting little offshoot that comes from that final statement that you made, which is you knew what it was going to become.
Yes.
How do you know when something is going to become? How do you know, for example, that this show, that I will become even more not famous, that the show will grow? How do you know that cryptocurrency will grow? How do you know that that Likeable media will be successful? How do you know? What is the thing that makes you or Dave or myself know?
I think it is an ability to, first of all, you don't always know, and you do miss. There's no question, and there's an acknowledgement of the miss. But I think as you learn to read your intuition and as you learn to understand your own inner workings, you know and learn what to bet on. And as you see, Facebook, listen, it was very early. I came from a media sales background. I was selling radio, before we did this, and I had worked on the brand side. So it was just a gut. When you looked at it, it was like, wow, there has never been something where I could really connect with everyone I've ever known from my past and keep in touch. And like, there's a good side and a bad side to that, but it was truly addictive. And also, I think it's the same way like when you bet on an investment, you just it's feel. I think you learn the questions to ask, you learn the things to look at over time as you hone your craft, as you do more in your field, you learn more of the brains part of it, but the heart part of it is understanding just instinctually what you think is going to work. And if you have good instinct and you're unafraid to go with that instinct, like we went all in on Facebook, we pivoted immediately from a word of mouth agency to social media fast. And that is what led to our growth and then continued our growth through that time.
There was a great soundbite there, acknowledgement of the miss. It's important. It's more than failure. It's the acceptance and the recognition of that failure. Now, Carrie, by the way, David Libby says hi.
Hi.
And he says that we're a husband and wife team too. So sweet. We are going to get to the husband and wife story in a moment, but what you could have done when you met Mr. Mark Zuckerberg is he should have been starstruck because you were Carrie Fisher, weren't you?
Yes. My maiden name was Carrie Fisher, and I did dress as Princess Leia. I need to follow up for you with some real photos of me as a child. Every year, I was basically Carrie Fisher.
For some reason, I couldn't find this in Google, and so I did this magnificent Photoshop job as well. But you were Carrie Fisher, but now, of course, you are Carrie Kerpen, and that brings us to one of the greatest stories. I didn't even, instead of going there with Dave, I was gonna, and he said you were the brains and apparently the good looks behind this too, which is amazing. You not only did you get married in a baseball stadium, but this wedding was sponsored, and it is. I mean, the press, I don't even know where to start, but I can tell you the press is amazing. And, you know, this is obviously a little link baity, the headline, right? How one man uses likability to get what he wants, which, of course, if you know Dave, you know that there's so much more to him. There's no Machiavellian part of it. There is just an authentic, natural part of it. But tell us the story of the sponsored wedding, because I think you guys have forgotten what marketers still have to learn when it comes to influencer marketing and doing this well.
I will happily tell you the story. This story, like most great marketing stories, came from a problem that needed to be solved, right? We wanted to have a wedding. Dave wanted the wedding of his dreams. Dave was like a groomzilla. He really wanted like a big wedding. Everyone he's ever known, he wanted to come to the wedding. Not just you, Joseph, but like every listener. He'd be like, oh, you must come see me get married. But that's his personality. He's a big personality. I had been married before. I had a starter wedding that lasted, marriage lasted under 2 years. It was a disaster and it cost my parents a lot of money. It was a big embarrassment for me. And I didn't want to ask them. And I also kind of realized that weddings, you're spending all of this money on what's essentially a wish. A wedding is a wish for a future together and future happiness. And like at that point, it just felt wrong. But I wanted Dave to have what he wanted. And I knew he was a larger than life kind of guy. And there was no amount of money. There was no place that could hold a wedding. There was no amount of money we could spend that would be enough, unless we really thought out of the box. And so it actually came to me in a diner. We were sitting across from each other and I was like, oh, I know what we'll do. Don't worry. We're just going to pitch a ballpark and we'll call it Our Field of Dreams and we'll sell in sponsors to their game. It'll be like a wedding game. Originally it was intended to be like a bridal expo. We'd invite all aspiring brides and then in between each inning, instead of like Pepsi tossing t-shirts into the audience, 1-800-Flowers will toss bridal bouquets and we'll have wedding vendors and it's going to be so beautiful and we'll get married on the field after. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was terrified because he was like, oh, that's what we'll do. And then I was like, oh my gosh, now we actually have to pull this off. But we did. We pitched the Mets and it wasn't going to work. So we pitched their minor league affiliate, the Brooklyn Cyclones, which was a far more beautiful venue anyway. It was in Brooklyn and Coney Island. It held about 8,000 people total. And then we started pitching. And the other piece about this is have a good network. I had built a network through the years. I knew a lot of people. people took a chance on us. So 1-800-Flowers donated flowers. David's Bridal donated bridesmaids dresses. You know, all of it. And all they had to do was donate for the wedding and then donate to charity, because that was an important element for us, because like the Star Jones sponsored wedding had just happened and it was seen as very tacky. And I knew this was kitschy, you know, we knew that, but I wanted to make sure that we were able to give back and do good as well. And so with that, we raised the wedding money for the wedding of our dreams. We had hot dogs and hamburgers, and we had Smirnoff sponsored the alcohol. And we also raised over $20,000 for the MS Society through the David Wright Foundation, which is a charity that's very near and dear to my heart. And from that, you know, all the sponsors were like, this was amazing, you guys, we bet on you. You know, so again, all about network, all about credibility. We got all of this massive amount of press, national and international press everywhere.
And there were
You are Chuck Norris approved.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.